Welcome back. You're back with me for another Arena Cube Draft here, following on from the relative success of the first one. So we're diving straight into Pack 1, Pick 1. Couple of choices. So Steam events I like. It's always nice just having a dual land early if there's nothing incredible in the pack. Lorehold Command's been really good. I'm not sure I'd want to first pick it. And I don't mind Lurrus in like white aggro. I think he's quite good there. I think for me, the simplest pick here is just to take a land and kind of like move on from our first pick and see where we end up. And moving into pack 2, I think we've got a pretty clear choice between Counterspell and Sphinx's Rev. When you're faced with that kind of choice, I think you simply take the cheaper spell. I'd also argue Counterspell's just straight up better as well. Not really much else to really consider in this pack. We'd be happy to wheel Sphinx's Rev, we'd be happy to wheel into the Royal, but let's just take the Counterspell and move on from there. And into pick 3, so here, Inscription of Insight I think's mediocre. Primal Command really good, probably not ideal with Counterspell. Inquisition of Kozilek's fine, Eldest Reborn's fine. I think the card that goes best with our first 2 picks is just Neutralize, so that is what we'll take. And into pick 4, couple of choices here again. So I think Banishing Light's a decent choice if you want to move into like blue-white control. Charter Course is okay. But you do need to be that kind of creature-based version of blue-red if you really want to play that. Not attacking and playing this tends to not be where you want to be. Angel Invention's also okay, but I wouldn't want to pick it up here. Some good green cards, but I think the card I like the most is probably the Banishing Light. Then we'll move on to the next pack. Given we've just picked up the Banishing Light, the Glacial Fortress is pretty good. Bertha Meletis I've been quite impressed with in this cube as well. I mentioned this in the first draft, but aggro is quite prevalent, and this does a very good job against aggro. That being said, I think I'd rather have good mana than a replaceable 2-drop. Some good Grixis lands as well, but other than that, nothing we're really interested in. We'll just wait on here a minute for another pack to come on through. I think this starts fine. It's looking like we're going to end up a similar-ish kind of deck to last time. No reason to think we're going to play all 3 of the Jeskai colours just yet. Could end up just straight blue-white. Could still end up anywhere really. It's too early in the draft to really cement ourselves into a colour other than blue, I think, at this point. Okay, we got another pack here, pick 6. I think Teferi is probably the best card for us. Hagra Maulin's fine, Sign of Blood's also okay. Gilded Lotus in the right deck, but I think for where we're at, Teferi is where we want to be, so we'll go ahead and pick him up. And into pick 7, I think this is an easy Settle the Wreckage. I think this card's really, really strong. I'd like this Ralgren Triome, because I do tend to find that these control decks do end up splashing the 3rd colour. And even just playing it on, if you're playing 2 of the colours, is nice, but it's pretty unlikely to wheel. But we definitely want the Settle here. And then we can move on to our final fresh pack. Once again, some good green cards. These white cards I don't think are great for us. I think Augur of Bolas is probably the one most likely to make the deck, so we'll just pick him up. Him, her, it. Let's go with it. And this is a pack we opened. Not an enormous amount here. Ondu Inversion's fine if you end up blue-white, because it essentially just replaces a land slot for you. I've also found Forsake the Worldly to be okay. I mean, the cycling means the floor on it is always quite, reasonable, of just replacing itself. But I think there is a world in which we might want to play Ondu Inversion. It's an interesting choice between them, but we will just take this. I think upgrading your lands is always a nice spot. So notably, the Sphinx's Revelation didn't wheel, nor did the Lorehold Command out of the first pack. So I think that does tell me, certainly the Sphinx's Revelation tells me that someone else is probably drafting a similar type of deck to us. We'll see. Here, just going to pick up the Savai Triome. If we do end up in Jeskai, it does touch 2 of those colours, so we will take it. Fey of Wishes I found an interesting one. It really does depend on how good your sideboard ends up. Generally, I've not found it to be good enough, so we will stick it over in the sideboard. We did wheel the Birth of Meletis, that's nice. Don't imagine we play either of these. Just put them in the sideboard and move on to the next pack. So what have we got here? Skyclave Apparition. It's obviously very good. It's made its impact on Standard and Historic. Strong card. Jace I found really good. I touched on this in my previous video, but really strong win condition. Because it's a win condition that you can just do nothing for the rest of the game and sit behind counter spells, which looks like where we kind of want to be. The Cloud Blazer, always good, and Think Twice is a fine card. I think what we'll do here is take the Jace, and we'd be happy to wheel any of these 3, and we're pretty likely to get one of them. So
I'm always a step ahead.
Let's go ahead and do that. Into pack 2, pick 2. We got Irrigated Farmland, which is decent land. Thassa's Intervention's fine, but I found this goes quite late. I think we will take the farmland here. Not really much else to consider. And Sweltering Suns is an okay card. Obviously with no red at the moment, so it's quite committal, but cycling is always good. But I think for us, the land is where we want to be, so that's what we'll pick up. Kind of happy with how this deck's looking at the moment. We do need some, do need to pick up some stuff, like some more counter spells. Is always going to be good. We're lacking in a bit of card draw at the moment, other than our Planeswalkers. We don't really have any way to kind of keep the cards flowing, which we do need. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Into pick 3. So I think this one, Supreme Will's the clear standout for me. The only other considerations really are these 2 at the top left. Baral's Expertise, fine, and Realm-Cloaked Giant, also fine, but I think this covers 2 of the things we were just talking about, so it's extra cards. It's more like card selection than card draw, but it's also a counter spell, depending on what you need in the matchup, so looks good for us. This is a very interesting pack, so I think we've got 3 really strong choices here. Compulsive Research, obviously very good card draw. Disallow, just 3 mana counter spell, you're always going to be happy with those in this kind of deck. And then Approach to the Second Sun, or Approach of the Second Sun, rather, which I think is actually one of the best win conditions in a kind of straight blue-white control deck. I think we're fairly unlikely to wheel any of these, so whichever one we're taking here is probably the only one we get. Generally, I would probably take the Compulsive here, but I think this, if we're taking Approach here, it sets us up to be a really kind of strong, just straight up control deck. Just sit and do nothing except for let these 2 win the game. Following that theme, we're going to take Censor here over Lay Claim. Nothing really else to consider. Here, Ojutai's Command, Conclave Tribunal, both good. I think we'll take the Command. And into this pack, I think Voracious Great Shark's quite good. It's impressed me so far. Nothing else really to consider. Ruin Crab can win you games if it's played early enough, but I think we'll just take the Great Shark. It's another counter spell for us. Into pick 8, and the last fresh pack we're going to see. We do need card draw. Thirst for Meaning is reasonable card draw. We've got a couple of enchantments to go with it. And here is our opening pack. This is what we've wheeled. So we've got the Cloud Blazer. We've also got the Think Twice. They're both really good for us here. think Twice plays better in the pure control strategy, just because you hold up your counter spell. If nothing happens, you draw a card. However, Cloud Blazer I think is just an all-around better card, so we'll take that here. Thassa's Intervention, pretty clear. We'll take that. Did mention earlier that it's fine, but it does tend to go quite late. I don't think we'll play any of these. Is there a reason that we might splash blue or black? I suppose we could splash black. We've got the Survive Triome. We'll take the Pathway and just bear in mind. Really surprised to see this here, and this is a really good pickup for us. Compulsive Research coming back this late. The disallow's gone, so there is someone else drafting control in some sense, I would say. But yeah, really, really good pickup for us. Super late. Lay Claim. It's not great, but it is absolutely playable. Fibblefip I do think can play in these kind of decks. He just comes down early and blocks, and you're kind of fine with that. You don't need him to do a huge amount more. Here we are into pack 3. I think it's between Cast Out and Elspeth Conquers Death for us here. So we've got 2 strong removal spells. I think we'll go for the Elspeth Conquers Death. Tend to just prefer it, really. The fact that it gets something back for you tends to make it just slightly edge over any other removal for me. To pick 2, nothing jumping out as incredible. Valorous Stance is okay, nothing special. Evolve and Wild, you'll always be happy with a dual land, and Opt is always good. I think we'll take the land. Yeah, pretty happy with that here. And at the moment, probably won't be playing these 3 cards, but we'll bear them in mind as potential options for splashing, depending on what else comes around this pack. Okay, into pick 3. Got Hallow Fountain versus Hieroglyphic Illumination. I think Shayla's not very good. We're not playing anywhere near enough creatures. Yorion, it's fine. Like, we've got a couple of things that are okay with it, like Cloud Blazer, specifically, obviously Fibblefip as well. But I think just better mana for us is where we want to be. And to pick 4. So here is an interesting one. So Pact of Negation's fine. This tends to be better when there's more kind of degenerate things that can happen in a format that you just need to stop. That's why it's better in the more powered up queues, I find. I think Magma Opus and Angel Sanctions are the cards we want to consider. Angel Sanctions is nothing special. I actually think we want the Magma Opus here. We have a very easy path to splashing it, and obviously it can always cycle itself anyway into a treasure. I think we will take that here. Into pick 5, Searcher's Canter versus Commit to Memory. I tend to like the Search more. Here, Seal Away versus Disdainful Stroke. I think, what are we missing more of? So, ways to deal with small stuff, or ways to deal with big things. I think ways to deal with small stuff. Seal Away definitely does that. Okay, pick 7. Brainstorm, Seagate, Restoration, Electrolyze, Spire Buff Clanau. These are our choices. I think Brainstorm, in terms of shuffle effects, we have the Evolving Wilds. Teferi can clear off our Brainstorm. Search can as well. However, I think if we're going to splash Magma Opus, we take the land here. To pick 8, our next newest fresh pack, and the last one we will see, we've got a blue-white dual land. Overwhelming Splendor is okay, but we've got more than enough ways to win the game now. I think we'll just take the mana, be happy with it. Pretty much exactly where we want to be in terms of playables. So I think we can move the Clearwater Pathway to the board. We wheeled the Cast Out as kind of nice to see. Yeah, pretty happy with how this has turned out, actually. I think we've got a pretty good blue-white with a very minor splash of red control deck. Still a few more picks that we could pick up something. There was a couple of packs where there would have been some nice things to wheel. Here, so we've got a choice of Opt or Inspiring Vantage. I think pretty happy it's 3 red sources, so we'll take an Opt. Hieroglyphic Illumination, really nice. Same kind of decision. We got a Clifftop Retreat there as well, but yeah, I think Hieroglyphic Illumination is something we could do with a bit more of. Don't have a huge amount of instant speed card draw. Obviously, Compulsive Research. It's a Sorcery. Thirsa Meaning is an instant, but it's nice being able to play it on your opponent's turn. Commit to Memory is a nice one to pick up as well. Stick that in. See what we end up cutting to make this work. Yeah, pretty happy with how that draft went. So let's see what we've got. So, definitely don't think we want the mountain. Let's just have a look at this mana first. Obviously, Ondu Inversion is absolutely a land for us. So that's 17. 1, 2, 3, 4 red, 3 red sources. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 white. Which I think means we want to switch a plains for an island there. Okay, and then we've got 3 cuts we need to be making. So what best to get rid of here? So I think we've got Fibblethip and Augur of Bolas are absolutely cuttable. We probably want one of them just to gum up the board early game, but we don't need both. I think something out of these 4s has to go. Kind of looking at Teferi or Commit. So I think we'll edge towards Commit at the moment, and I think we will edge towards Augur of Bolas as well as 2 of our cuts, and then I think Thassa's Intervention could go, Teferi could go, or we could lose something like Thirsa Meaning or Hieroglyphic Illumination, or even just Opt. Yeah, possibly that. Yep. I think talked myself into this being our deck. So there you go. This is second Arena Cube on the channel. That's the deck we're going in with. I'll get you back with me when we're in round 1. And you're back with me for the first round in this draft league. Here's our opening hand. I like it. Easy keep. And go ahead and play an island to start us off. So we'll run out the Fibblethip here rather than hold up Counterspell, just because I'd rather hold it up for their 3rd turn play. It's possible they'll do something to make me regret that, but they did not, thankfully. Just going to turn the audio down very slightly. It's a little bit loud. Okay, Sedgemoor Witch, I think, is good enough for us to counter. Does Ward include... Oh, interesting. I've not seen this interaction actually come up in Strixhaven so far. So I'm assuming then we have to pay... No, we don't. Okay. I was wondering why it was showing us the message there to say... to show that, you know, that... kind of implying that spell wouldn't resolve unless I paid the life. It's not a permanent at that stage, and Ward doesn't come into play until it is. Okay, this is perfect target for Ogeti's command. Yeah, slightly confusing way to set up the... Slightly confusing way to set up how the sort of triggering works there. Certainly to me anyway. Maybe I'm just being stupid on how that played out there. Just felt to me like they were warning me about something that could never happen. Okay, opponent's throwing up a Thragtusk. Yeah, think that's good enough for us to counter. And we're just going to keep making land drops rather than cycling this, because we want to get to 7 for the approach. And we're going to sit behind the Great Shark for this turn. That one, are we bothered? I think it's a reasonable enough thing to counter. It's not incredibly strong, but I'm assuming they've played this here because they've kind of run out of stronger threats like these last few turns. Expecting that they've got some sort of removal in hand, so this Great Shark's probably unlikely to do much other than just counter the Blood Artist, as we can see. They did, however, let me draw a card, which is nice of them. Okay, here, just play the Evolving Wilds, play a Cloud Blazer, refill our hand slightly, and continue pecking away at them with Fibblefip, who I'm a big fan of, as you can probably tell from my little avatar there. Okay, Noxious Gearhulk. Go ahead and kill that. And we will fetch ourselves an island. And go ahead and approach the second sun. Obviously no attacks. Don't want to get a little Fibblefip walking into a brick wall of Noxious Gearhulk. We'll see if our opponent has anything they can do before we get up towards casting that a second time. Okay. Interesting. I was kind of expecting him to sacrifice the Zealot here to draw a card, but decided the better play was to do that. So we've got a few choices here. Can Magma Opus take out these two, deal 2 to them, tap the Gearhulk, tap their green at their upkeep. It sounds like a pretty good plan. We could play both of these two, take out the Gearhulk, take out the Vraska, but I think stopping at their upkeep seems like a good place to be, so we're going to deal 1, and deal 2. Tap that and tap their green. That should... It certainly almost straight up buys us a turn. Takes the Vraska off the board, draws us some cards. As you can see, that's pretty much why I like splashing this card specifically. Nightmare Shepherd's fine. We're 4 cards away from approach, so we are going to cycle here. And continue with playing lands. We're banishing Light away the Nightmare Shepherd. Play our Search for Azcanta. And hit our opponent for 4. And pretty happy with where we're at right now. We will cycle this end of turn if nothing, urgent comes up. Yeah, opponents gave in. So there we go, round 1 over. Went pretty well. I'll jump you back in with me for round 2. You're back with me, round 2 here. Here's our opening hand. Pretty happy with this, so we will go ahead and keep. We'll start on Steam Vents tapped. Don't really want to cycle this turn 1. We could happily pick up something on their turn with it, so we'll go ahead and see if we can do that. Played this on blue because this does make white. We do need double white here, but generally our deck's going to be happier with more blue mana. Yeah, pretty fine with countering this, I think. So, opponent showing us 3 colours immediately. In fact, showing us 4 colours immediately. I think could be a few decks they're playing here. Who knows? We'll see how this pans out over the next few turns before we start thinking about exactly what our game plan's going to be. They've shocked there and then not played anything, which is curious to say the least. So we'll just pass the turn back to them. sit behind our Supreme Will. See what they've got. Okay, draw a card. Absolutely fine. I'm assuming this is some sort of probably like Scarab God deck. Possibly a 5-color Golo Space deck, but I'm gonna guess it's more of a Reanimator thing. We'll see. We'll see. Opponents played their Foulmire Knight, and then foretold something. Could this be? I don't know exactly what foretell cards are in the cube. Could be a Saw It Coming. Could be Behold the Multiverse. We'll probably have to just wait and find out. Continue sitting behind our Supreme Will. Thirst for meaning if nothing happens that we need to deal with. Which is what's happened. See what our opponent does. So whatever this foretold card is, they do seem to be looking at. We will discard an enchantment. Pretty fine with doing that. And continue to kind of just make land drops and play spells, really. And sit behind our counters. So opponent scrying, absolutely fine. We have 2 counter spells in hand to kind of deal with any major threats that we need to look at. We'll see what carries on here. It's possible this Ketria Triome's actually only in here for green and blue, and the red's not actually of use to them. See if they choose to play anything this turn. Nope. So we will go ahead and fetch. We'll grab ourselves. What have we got? 3 blue sources. Let's grab another white. And can't quite make a token with that. In fact, that's a very good reason to grab another white, isn't it? Okay. So if we Jace, we can't hold up Neutralize, but we could hold up Supreme Will. It's unlikely to catch. So if they have a counter spell, it's probably 2 or 3 mana. Yeah. I think we'll continue just past him for another turn or 2. Kind of want the opponent to act first here. And if we just keep making tokens every turn now, they'll quickly be forced to act first. So you have Scry 2 to the top there, which never what you want to see, but we'll see where it goes from here. Okay, Llanowar Visionary is fine. See if they have anything else to follow it up with. No. But only 4 mana now. Which means we should be able to get away with the Jace and holding up a counter here. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's interesting whether we actually do want to mill them. I do feel like they have plays with their graveyard, but we are going to go ahead and do it. As I mentioned in the draft, this is a win condition, so we need to treat it like one. And quite a good draw from Ojutai's command there. We'll pass it back to our opponent. Got 3 counter spells plus Settle the Wreckage to just sort of sit behind. I think we would cycle cast out here in the turn. See what they choose to do. They do have a lot of cards in hand. They obviously have the Kenra they can eternalize, plus whatever this foretold card is. My guess is this is a Saw It Coming, or if it's in the cube, Poison the Chalice, or Poison the Cup, possibly. Which I do think is in the cube. I think I've seen it. That's my best guess on what this is. We'll see. Opponent obviously has a few choices to make. Okay, so gone ahead and kicked Bloodjuice Thirst. Now we can counter this and try and protect our Jace. Now the only thing is, if this is a Saw It Coming, that's less than ideal for us. I think we will try this because we would really like this Jace to survive. Okay, Naturalize has resolved, which makes me think this is probably Poison the Chalice. Poison the Cup. can't remember what that card is called. You poison something. Who knows? Okay, opponent attacking. We will block the Foulmire Knight here. And initially I said we were going to cycle this. However, it is a very good way of dealing with a Sword of Body in mind. So perhaps that's not what we're going to end up doing. Okay, see what we draw off our Jace. A Seal Away. It's actually quite a nice draw here. We could kind of let them go for attacks. Possibly Seal Away, and in combat we got some plays there for sure. We will. What have we got mana wise? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can Fibble Fip plus hold up Seal Away and Ogetize Command. That seems like a nice place to be. Player tapped Hallowed Fountain and pass it over to our opponent. I feel like we've got a lot of good answers for the things that they could be doing here on the next turn or two. Like equipping and attacking, obviously not ideal for them with our Seal Away. Okay, chosen not to equip. Does present an interesting choice as to whether we actually Seal Away here, but I am going to go ahead and do it. Just in the interest of protecting the Jace. Still got 2 counter spells that we can sit behind for this turn. Okay, Alrund's Epiphany. That one we will not let resolve. And yeah, I think we'll go on over to our turn, see what we find with Jace. Okay, Compulsive Research is a nice one. Opponent only has 1 mana available here. I think we are just going to approach, play an island, and then Compulsive. Discarding a land. Reason for that is, obviously, just dug straight 3 cards immediately towards approach for the second time. And the second one, it doesn't matter whether it resolves or not, it can be countered. If you've not played with this card before, the first one has to resolve. The second one, it doesn't matter as long as it's put on the stack. There's very few things that can interact with it at that stage. You're kind of talking things that remove triggers from the stack, disallow, for example, at that point. Interesting that Gonti here digs 4 cards deep, so obviously absolutely could have taken our approach to the second sun there. We will not be able to tell until we get back through to the bottom of our deck. Start by milling them, draw a card. Sheoldred, Thief of Sanity. Okay, and we'll play a land. And I think cast out the Gonti here. The best way for us at the moment of dealing with this sword is just to not let there be creatures on the board. So that's the current game plan. Just stop any creature that wants to stay on the board. Not going to play Bertha Meletis here because I'd rather hold up Ogetize Command / Castle Ardenvale. Let's see what our opponent does on their turn. Obviously, still got this Kenra here that we know about. Which does come in as quite a big threat and is not dealt with by Ogetize Command, so something to think about there at least. Okay, Null Priest of Oblivion. If it is kicked, return a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. That I don't think we can let happen. So we will try and counter that. So we still don't know what this card is. I think at this point we can rule this out from being a counter spell. Just no way they would have played it by now if it was a counter. Yep, we'd be pretty happy with that, and we will transform and mill 2 more off our opponent. So we're at 8 cards, they're at 10. It's fine. Going to play this as a land. We want to make mana, as many land drops as we can here, but it's very unlikely that we're going to end up casting this, given it would give them back, give them back some creatures down here. And we are a turn or two away from the Jace ultimate. Okay, so opponents tried to lay claim. We will. So what mana have they got here? Just the one. So we're just going to pay 2 on this, just to make sure that it resolves. No real reason not to. And they have 1 mana available. See what they can do with it. Okay, play a Zagoth Triome and over to us. We will go ahead and make a token. I'm not going to activate this. I'd rather keep cards in our deck at this point. We're low enough to activate the Jace, and that's kind of as far as we really need to go with it. We'll play the Birth of Elitist just so we can try and work out what they took. Yeah, so I think, as you can probably deduce, they did take our Approach of the Second Sons with Golden Teeth. It's not in our deck, which is as expected, but we are just a turn away from a win with Jace with multiple counter spells here. Opponent is going to have to make some pretty good plays to be able to stop us at this point. Let's see what they choose to do. They essentially need 2 direct kill spells in the last 4 cards. Now I'm pretty sure at this point this is a Poison the Cup, Poison the Chalice, whatever that's called. These obviously we know nothing about. We'll have to wait and see about them ones. Okay, Silumgar's Command. We will counterspell. And opponents conceded, so no other ways to deal with the Jace, I'm assuming. There we go. Game 2, 2 wins. We'll move on to round 3. Back with me, round 3 of this league draft with our blue-white control deck. Here's our opening hand. Looks pretty good to me, so we'll go ahead and keep. And we'll lead on a Steam Vents tapped. See what our opponent's doing over on the other side of the board. Okay, let's run out our Fibblefip. Draw a Plains, pretty happy with any lands here. Oh look, a Fibblefip mirror and 2 Fibblefips playing as the avatars as well. What a wonderful time to be alive. Here, we're just going to hold up our first meeting. We'll offer the Fibblefip for Fibblefip trade, see if our opponent wants it. They do not. We're going to probably just hold this and with the intention of discarding Seal Away. We'll see. We'll see. It's possible we also cycle this. It's going to depend a little bit on what they do here. Okay, Glasspool Mimic. Drawing a Fibblefip. I think we're absolutely fine with that. Gives them a card, they have to sack one. Yeah, I think it's essentially a 3 mana cycle. Not sure that's doing an enormous amount for them there. So we'll continue with our plan of Thirst and discard Seal Away. It's going to leave us a lot of cards in hand here, for sure. So we will go ahead and play a Plains, play the Jace. We're going to have to discard 1 card here, but I think we're okay with doing that. Mill some off our opponent. And then we are going to have to discard. We won't attack here, as we want to block. In terms of what we discard, could be Magma Opus, could be Censor. I think that's essentially the choice. Which one? Probably Censor. I think it's less likely to do anything. And we have most of the lands we need for Opus. Okay, opponents played a Thassa. Interesting that they didn't keep the Glasspool Mimic, if that's the case. Okay, Treasure Cove has flipped on over. And they're going to be drawing a card. I mean, this is like a pretty good interaction, right? Opponent's just going to draw a card every single turn. Let's go ahead and start by jacing. Okay. Obviously, Cloud Blazering here is going to not really do what we want it to do. So we've got a choice. Castle Ardenvale allows us to make a 1/1 if we need to, while holding up Neutralize. Alternatively, we just play one of our other lands. I think we play Ardenvale without an attack, and then we're going to discard our Evolving Wilds at the end of turn. We've got 2 more lands, fairly likely to find more if we need to. Okay, Gilded Lotus. Are we bothered by this? Not really. Doesn't kind of depend what they're going to do with it, but we'll have to wait and find out, I should imagine. Okay, opponent draws a card. And do they have anything else? No. So we will go ahead and make a 1/1. And opponent has put Jace back in our deck. Absolutely fine with that. Okay. Here we will. It's an interesting choice. So we can either hold up, we can play an island, plains, and hold up 2 counter spells. Alternatively, play the Triome, obviously being the tap land, letting us kind of get to these quicker. Oh, it's a tough choice. I think we want to be able to Jace plus counterspell next turn, so playing a tap land is probably the right choice. And here we can attack, start pecking away with some damage. Opponent probably going to draw a card here with Treasure Cove, yep. We'll see what they do on their turn. Certainly got a handful of cards, but so do we. Next turn we'll be looking to get our Jace back on the board, so Karn. Karn's interesting. They've got enough artifacts that is actually an issue. So I think we will counter that, or try and counter that. It feels like they've probably got their own. They did not. Might open the way for us to just throw out an Approach of the Sun, Second Sun here. Them not having a counterspell there. I feel like if they did have it, they'd have protected. They'd have protected their Karn, but let's see. It's not the end of the world if this does get countered, but it did not. Yeah, we'll attack with both of these now. Thrix. Somewhat annoying, not the end of the world. It's a reasonable clock. Obviously it does also allow our opponent to resolve expensive spells. As you can see, it stops anything over CMC 5, such as Shouldered, from being countered, so we do need to find something to deal with this here. Something like, oh, not sure. We need any of our exile stuff, Settle the Wreckage. What else have we gone through? Seal Away's gone. Yeah. Ideally we need to find Settle the Wreckage, and quickly, really, is the answer. Let's see what our opponent does. Decided to go ahead and draw a card, fine. Okay. Gonna draw any off our end? No, chose creature and didn't find one. Okay, sacrifice that. What can they get back with their Shieldred? Just a Brazen Borrower, Glasspool Mimic, okay. I'm going to start by Compulsive. Just because if this does draw a Settle the Wreckage, sadly did not, then we would want to hold it. We'll chuck away a land, play an island, and play our Cloud Blazer. We're just going to chump something with this. I mean, we're facing, what at the moment, 1, 7, 11. Yeah, I think we're super close to dead. We're dead to a removal spell, certainly. And in fact, dead without a removal spell if they choose to attack with everything here. And once again, for a second game in a row, our approach to the second sun has been stolen by a Gonti, but the Exclusion Mage will do the job anyway. There you go. Game 3. 2 wins, 1 loss so far. I'll get you back in the next round. Welcome back. Back with me, round 4 of this best of 1 Arena Cube Draft. Here's our opening hand. We will keep this. No real reason not to. Simply looking to make land drops every turn here. You see 2 spells in our hand, very expensive. Opponents played Blue-White Temple. Possibly an indicator they're on control, but maybe too soon to make that judgment. Let's wait and see. Okay, Young Pyromancer. Possible this is just some sort of almost mirror match, but could hold up a counterspell here, but we need to find some lands. So I'm going to go ahead and assume we don't really need to settle. And possibly Magma Opus as well is the one to go here. Could be Elspeth Conquers Death instead, but I think those 2 are fine to get rid of. Could have got rid of the land and just hoped to draw more, but I think realistically not where we want to be. Let's go ahead and search. We just need to make more land drops. Okay. Perhaps the opponent is slightly more aggressive slanted than I thought they were. We'll see. We'll go ahead and keep that. Assuming they have a counterspell here, which, I mean, if it is the case, it's obviously not ideal for us whatsoever. Currently our Elspeth Conquers Death can do nothing. I think we are just going to have to pass this turn, take another 5, and look to play on their turn if possible. We could have took 2 and played the Cloud Blazer, but I'm almost certain it would have been countered there. This isn't a great spot for us to be in, that's for sure. Let's see, we'll see what goes on here. Okay, we'll look at the top 4. That's going to be a difficult one for us to do anything about, isn't it? Let's see. I'm not sure there's anything we can do to get out of that. This might just be the quickest loss in the history of Arena Cube. Does that do anything? Not really. It's going to still be far too much on the board. Can't get to this. This would deal with that, but still very much dead. If we play this, we go to 6, block 5, take 8. Yeah, I think. Unfortunately, that one has not gone well for us whatsoever. We'll jump back in the next round. Welcome back. Back with me, game 5 of this league. Here's our opening hand. Absolutely keepable. Let's see where we can go from here. See, 2 and 2 at the moment. Not where we'd have chosen to be, but hey, can't always have what you want. So, is what it is. Here, I think we will play the farmland. Just assume we're going to have nothing to do this turn. Okay, Skyclave Shade's fine. And go ahead and play a Spire Bluff Canal. Got a choice of what to do here. We'll start by taking 3. Maybe there's something for us to counter. Reclamation Sage. It kind of feels like we have to counter this, to be honest with you. We just don't want the number of threats on the board to get out of control. See, our hand is reasonably okay against some further threats. See what we can do here. Kind of looking to Ojutai's command something ideally. Okay, that one I don't think we need to be too bothered about. So go ahead and deal with the Skyclave Shade here. On to our next turn. It's a good one. So opponent can scry on their upkeep and then pay green to draw a card if they cast a creature. Not something we need to be too concerned with. Pretty much going to Great Shark any creature here. Yeah, that one is good enough. They will get to draw a card, but it's not really a problem here. And start hitting them for 5 a turn, 4 turn clock. So obviously this card does end up sometimes being a win condition. Opponent scry to the top, see what that means. Thragtusk, okay, not a problem with that one. We'll counter and draw a card. Essentially just don't want to let creatures hit the board at this point. Them drawing cards is fine, as long as we get to have 3 more attacks over the next couple of turns. Opponent scrying again, put it on top. They cannot yet get Pelucranos back, need 6. Overmold Hydra. We will go ahead and counter. Using our conditional counter spells first. Just 1 more turn to get through, 2 more hits, and we have this sewn up. Okay, opponent scrying again. This time they put one on the bottom. Possible they'll be looking for some removal. Pelt Collector, we will let that one resolve. It lets them block, but no reason to use a removal spell on it just now. Scavenging Ooze, it's an interesting one. Let's start by seeing if they draw. So they did not draw a card. The fact that they didn't draw makes me think there's something else they're going to play here. So we could counter this. I think we'll let it resolve. I'm just working on the assumption here that they have something more. Yeah, thought so. And we will counter that one. That's the more dangerous of them. They can draw a card. Chose not to, so they are looking to Scavenging Ooze rather than draw. End of their turn, we'll go ahead and draw 2 cards. Okay. Start by Compulsive, see what we find. And I think we will discard a land here. We will go ahead and cast out. See, we don't want to lose Great Shark here, and we can force them into a pretty nasty block. Take the Ooze off the board, and then they have to jump block the Shark, which leaves us in a pretty good spot, I would imagine, given they have nothing in hand. See what our opponent does here. I'm assuming just going to exile something. There's no other play they have to make, really. So they could take a spell out of our yard or take a creature out of theirs if they choose. So if they take a creature out of their yard, that'll take them off of the ability to cast Pelucranos. Or rather, take them further away from the ability to cast Pelucranos. See, deciding between whether to use it or not here. The 1 life could end up being quite important to them. Obviously that puts them 1 above a hit off of the Shark. Opponent deep in the think tank. Definitely not sure what they want to do. Obviously a pretty tough spot for them. Okay, they have consumed their Reclamation Sage. Put some 1 away from dead. We'll see whether that's enough for them. or not. So they have topped here, so presumably this is something that's going to save them. Guess we're about to find out. It might just simply be a creature, and they're hoping to draw. No, instead it's... put a creature on the board. It's an interesting situation for me. So we've got a choice again here. We can play Teferi, phase out one of these, force the other one to chump block. Obviously Teferi would then die on their turn. But we have other things, you know, really we're just looking for a land here for Magma Opus. Which probably means that's the play, really. So let's phase out the Pelt Collector. Play Fibblefip. Just because he could save Teferi, and there is our land. So this forces a chump block. Oh, in fact, Teferi -3s. Of course, comes down with 3 loyalty. Interesting. Well, here we have 2 lethal threats and a lethal Magma Opus in hand, so... Teferi disappearing off the board here, really not an issue for us. I think more than enough in our hand to deal with the rest of this game. We shall see. Stranger things have happened than a comeback from this situation. Lizette's not really going to make any inroads into them coming back. Not a problem at all for us. And there we go. So let's fetch ourselves a land. Grab an island, and Magma Opus our opponent. Just going to take out the 2 creatures and then tap the other 2. So this gives us a number of ways here. But obviously, either way of this resolving wins us the game, either through attacks or straight damage. And there we go. Putting us to a 3-2 record. Not ideal. Kind of always on the knife's edge, but I'll get you back with me for the next game. Here you are back with me for the next game in our Arena Cube Draft. Here's the opening hand. This one is one of the worst we've had so far, but we're going to keep it and rely on these cyclers to kind of get us out of a pretty miserable spot here. Who knows whether that will happen. Could end up just losing this to not drawing land, but if we do, then... that's kind of on me. I made the choice. Decided to keep this. It's super close. I mean, it's possible this is a mulligan, but honestly I tend to just find that in Limited, mulliganing is just such a huge disadvantage. Not so much in Constructed, but in Limited, that I'll keep sketchy hands quite often. I just think the expected value, expected win rate from doing so probably outweighs the times that I might have won if I'd mulliganed. It's not going to be a common occurrence, I wouldn't have thought. Okay, we will go ahead and play the Evolving Wilds. The reason I've played this rather than the Arden Veil, allowing me to neutralise, is because then we can Fibblefip on turn 3. Or possibly even Compulsive. We're going to fetch blue here, of course. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. No real reason not to. This does give our opponent some information to use on their turn. You know, they could play slightly differently knowing that I'm a blue deck rather than an unknown second colour. But oh well. Not everything can be perfect. I'd rather it not ask me for priority every single path, every single stage. See if they have a 2-drop to follow up with here. And I think we might have just got off the hook here. If we can just draw into some more lands, ideally through Compulsive, or even through Fibblefip, then we'll be pretty happy. If we draw an island here, also pretty good. So opponent no 2-drop. I'm tempted to just kill Reese here, so that they can't activate this down the line. We haven't missed a land yet, so we can always fire this off next turn. It's possible they can stop, yeah, I was just going to say. It's absolutely possible they could stop this, but I think we're fine with that. We've ways of dealing with this. It's The Banish and Light can deal with it, or any other number of ways. Okay, Isamaru, not too bothered about that one. It's a pretty good draw, so this lets us go and grab a land from our deck, play it, and play Fibblefip as well. And there is an island. This is, by the skin of our teeth, we're getting through. It's been a lot of lucky draws, but we are just about clinging on with that hand that we kept. So, see what our opponent does. 4 cards in hand. Could just start activating Reese at this point. Would kind of force me to do something about it. Okay, Isamaru attacks. We will not block just yet. No real reason to. Okay, Elspeth. Presumably making some tokens. Yep. And we're going to go ahead and Elspeth the Elspeth. It's a bit of a weird flavour fail, really. She conquers death, but destroyed by her own conquering of death. Bit of an odd one. We don't have anything in the yard to get back just yet, so we will be actively looking to just trade something off here. Like, if I just want to Fibblefip to die, essentially. We just want anything in the graveyard to bring back. Okay, opponent Elite Spellbinding, Banishing Light. It's kind of fine. Okay. Also fine with that. Seems like an odd attack, if I'm honest. Gain ourselves some life. And here, now, we do want to get rid of this Elite Spellbinder. But I think more than that, we'll just draw ourselves a card here. Ditch the Hallowed Fountain. We want the Triome for red because Magma Opus is going to be incredibly good on this board. We can take a hit or 2 off the Spellbinder. I'm not too bothered about that. I mean, at the moment we're facing 5 damage. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. Let's see what they have to follow this up with. Nothing immediately. Okay. Now, Undo Inversion is a potential to just be cast here. We obviously don't mind losing the seal away, and we've not really got much else on the board, so we're going to go ahead and just do that for the moment. It's a tough choice, though, as to whether we Banish in Light and deal with this Spellbinder, or just hold up Counterspell plus Illumination and see whether we need to do anything on their turn or not. Obviously, you can see the choice I decided to make. Don't like getting hit by this in the air for 3 more, potentially another 1 or 2 if they've got any way to get these soldiers through. Let's see what happens here. Okay, just 3 in the air. We'll let that happen. Animation module. So whenever they put a counter on a permanent, they can pay 1 to make a 1/1. I think we're fine with that. Can let that happen. And end of turn, we'll draw 2. Okay. Thassa's Intervention. I think at this point, we're pretty much... we don't want to tap like that, that's for sure. 3, 4, and 5. We kind of need to just deal with this Spellbinder. If they have a way of protecting it, obviously that's less than ideal for me. Which doesn't seem like they do, which is nice. We won't attack. I did mention we might have cast Undo Inversion. Going to go with not doing it. We just need the 8th mana. This Magma Opus is going to do a lot of work for us. Overmold Hydra. It's not the end of the world, that one, but no reason not to just get rid of it, get it countered. It's going to be big and scary. I don't want to let it sit on the board. Okay, opponent attacking with Isamaru. We could trade the Fibblefip for it, but don't think we've really any reason to. Just kind of eat the 2 damage with the wall. Here, a couple of choices. We can Jace, it takes us off counter spells. We can Teferi, which still allows me to hold up Ogisai's command. I think the alternative, obviously, Magma Opus, their board, tap a couple of lands. Maybe that's the thing we should be looking at doing, really. Yeah. We'll go ahead with that. What are they more likely on? Probably green. Okay. Let's destroy those 3 and tap 2 of their green sources. Should be pretty close to finishing the game off there, really. I don't imagine there's much they've got that they can do here. They are tapping their mana, so they've obviously got something to do with it. So otherwise, no real reason to do that. I can only assume they're planning on feeding it into Blast Zone. Okay, drew a couple of decent cards, and neither of them going to make any major impact on the game at this point. The 4/4, however, probably will do. So they do have this turn kind of clear of any interaction from me. They have gone ahead and put a counter on the Blast Zone. See what else they're going to do. Okay, play a Triome. Interesting that they've not cycled that, really. Would have expected that might have been the play. Go ahead and attack them for 6. Now, they do have a play here, in that they can animation module the Blast Zone, put it up to 3 counters, destroy, obviously, the Vanishing Light, get back the Spellbinder. Because of everything I've just said there, I'm going to put Teferi on the board, just because he offers me some protection with his -3.
It takes impressive knowledge to be a
What don't we want here? I think the ship's probably sailed for Searcher as Kantar. So I'm assuming this is the line. So, yeah, add a counter to that. That's fine. So if they sack it here, they get their Elite Spellbinder back. Which is okay. I mean, it's the end of the world. Okay, Hornet Queen. Wow. Go ahead and counter that one. And activate the Teferi, see what we find. I think we can just ditch the sensor. Draw a card. There is a Cloud Blazer. I'm not sure we're going to have the time to cast that one, so I'm actually going to ditch it. Then we will Jace. Start plussing that. And hit our opponent for 6. Obviously, we've still got somewhere in here is our approach to the Second Sun. Okay, Dante Vanguard. I'm going to counter it. I mean, look, is it a threat? Not really. Do we have any reason to not counter this? No. So let's go ahead and do it. Good enough to win us the game. Puts us records at 4-2. And I'll get you back with me for the next round. Back with me for the next game in our Arena Cube Best 1 draft. We're currently 4-2. Here's our opening hand. This is pretty poor. If ever there was one I'd mulligan, this is probably it. I mean, we can get to the 3 land. It's just more the fact that, obviously, this is essentially a mulligan anyway. We're not casting that for a very long time. Same with approach. I think a mulligan there is probably the correct choice. This is keepable, and we'll put the Magma Opus back. See what our opponent's up to. Okay, Hallowed Fountain probably tells me This is some kind of mirror. I'm going to go ahead and just play the Glacial Fortress. Gives me the most options to just counterspell turn 2. We're going to hold up. Had the option of some tap lands there, but rather keep the shields up if we can. And continue just passing the turn. See, might have been a little bit wrong on the fact that our opponent is absolutely not playing a control deck, but I'm going to go ahead and counter that. Not really sure what they could be playing here. I've said it a few times, there is a multi-colour deck in this format. 5-colour one. It actually has been one of the archetypes I've had the most success with. We've not run into it. We've not drafted it ourselves. We've not ran into it again, like in any of our opponents' hands, in either of the draft videos I've done so far. Okay, Primal Command. So they're putting our land back on top and searching for a creature. I think we're going to go ahead and say no thank you to that. And go ahead and play our castle. So here we've got a choice, either counter a creature, make a 1/1. Depends what happens, so that's good enough reason to counter a creature. And go ahead, attack for 5, as we saw in one of the earlier games. Voracious Great Shark, just hitting them 4 times is an absolutely reasonable way of getting to victory. It's not how this deck's usually going to win games, but, you know, it doesn't really matter how you go about doing it. So here, this is an interesting choice. Settle the Wreckage is doing nothing. Supreme Will is obviously what they'll take here. Now, we can either make them pay 3 extra and we lose both cards, but they're tapped out. Or we can try and find a card that they can't take. So here, I'd like to take Approach, but I think I'm right in saying this only hits 3 or greater yet. So what we'll do instead is take the Birth of Meletus and just give them the option to take Settle. Which is exactly what's happened. Fraction Arena, it's not an issue for us here. Go ahead and grab our last planes and attack our opponent for 5. We can't make a 1/1 here. Not really the end of the world. Could have played our lands differently and given myself the option to do so, but let's see what happens over these next couple of turns. See whether that was a mistake. I mean, our opponent already down at 9, taking 1 a turn from their arena. Any damage we can put on them here is going to be very relevant. Okay, Solemn actually is censorable, so we'll go ahead and do so. Also go and find ourselves a basic. Hit our opponent for 5. Opponent's saying good game. I don't understand. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but when you're playing in Arena, people that say good game and then don't concede, I don't get it. Like, either the game's over, in which case fine, off you go, or it's not, in which case no reason to really say it. It's a bit of an odd one. Maybe I'm dying on a hill I don't need to die on. We'll go and let that happen. We'd rather counter something a bit more impactful. I mean, this essentially just buys them a turn here. As does that. Not bothered by it at all. That we can't counter. So we'll let that one happen as well. Make ourselves a 1/1. Play our ECD, take out the Llanowar Elves. Reason we're, the Llanowar Visionary, not the Llanowar Elves. Reason we're taking that out rather than the Arena, I mean, we're absolutely okay with this, just pinging them for 1. They've got themselves on a 1-turn clock here, or kind of 2-turn clock. They will die at their next upkeep if they don't die on my turn. So they might find a way to make it through this through my attack, but they also need to find a way to make it through their upkeep. This obviously can gain them 7 life. We'll see. Maybe that's the line they take. It's going to buy them a little bit of time. I'm tapped out of any interaction right now. Or not that they know that. Could have a 3-mana counter, but they're not really in a position where they can play around counter spells. Okay, there's Primal Command. So they've gained 7 and searching for a creature. The creature is Null Priest. That will gain them 2 more on a block. That's what I assume will happen here. That one will hold to cycle. And just attack. Opponent's going to go up to 10, take 1, take 2, go back down to 8. And we'll just sit here with our Ogetize command. See if we can kind of durdle our way to a victory. Okay, opponent fetching a plains. So they do have fully accessible 4 colours now. No red. 5 cards in hand. Let's see what they can do. Okay, finality. That is going to deal with all of our stuff. Not much I can really do about it. I can make a 1-1, which is what we're going to do on their end step. And cycle Irrigated Farmland. Okay, there's Magma Opus. And we'll grab back our Shark. Obviously, we had no target for that before they decided to RAF our board, giving us a target. So we'll just sit here with Magma Opus for a minute. We'll see what they do. We've got choices. That's absolutely fine. Not bothered by that one. That one is a bit more of a problem. We'll deal with that one. And then I think on my turn, fire off the Magma Opus. Opponent's still sitting there saying good game. Again, if the game's over, concede. It's that simple. Don't understand why you wouldn't. So they have 2 mana. We're going to fire this off. Target that. Target them. Tap the lands that they do have. And this will give me lethal, obviously, by removing this Edgemore Witch as a blocker. There we go. Opponent's finally conceded. Puts me at 5-2 for this deck. I'll jump you back in for game 8. Okay, back with me. Next round of our Arena Cube Draft. Here's the opening hand. This one, again, is another 2-lander, which we seem to have had a lot of, but it's a keepable one. Got multiple cyclers, and also search for Azcanta. I am going to play an island here with the intention of cycling probably Illumination. Just because we already have compulsive. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Turn 2, just going to fire off search for Azcanta. The earlier you play it, the better it is. Opponent playing a Sacred Foundry tapped turn 1. I would normally assume this is an aggro deck, but the fact it was tapped, maybe a slightly strange one. That one, we'll keep it, on the assumption that this game will go long enough for that to be relevant. Okay. Interesting, the opponent didn't play this turn 1, that probably tells us they drew it. Possibly now looking to activate. We will deal with it with our Seal Away. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and keep that as well. Search for Azcanta is slightly worse when when you just keep everything that's on top. But hey, what are we supposed to do if they're all good? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play Seal Away here. Just take that off the board while we can. Sorry if you can hear any background noise. My dog's going berserk behind me. I don't know what he's trying to do. Climb the walls, I think. Okay. Opponent now with just the 1-1 on the board. History of Benalia, sadly not counterable with Censor. Is a problem for us. That's going to deal with a lot of damage. We probably should cycle one of these here. I think probably the Censor needs to go. And we're looking for land now. That's a definite graveyard. That is a land, but not the kind of land we were looking for. We'll go ahead and play it and play Jace, however. Obviously, they can just attack this here for 3. I'm kind of... The way this game looks at the moment, I'm kind of fine with this just soaking some damage. It's not going to go the distance, it's not going to win us this game, but yeah, like, it taking 2 damage off of shock and 3 damage off an attack as a gain 5, draw 1, I'm kind of fine with that.
Fortunately, I won't have to remember this.
Okay. See, next turn Benalia is going to trigger, and apparently there's a Sarkhan as well. Yeah, I think this might be all she wrote for us. We will keep Irrigated Farmland, just because we really need to make land drops. Like, the way we get out of this is approach plus magma over the next couple of turns. Now, we're going to take 5, 9, 13 here if we don't do anything. Which we can't really afford to do, so we're going to just sit behind our Voracious Great Shark. Hopefully... Okay, there's 17 on board. We have to just play this and block a knight. That puts us to 6. That one's got to go to the graveyard. We need an untapped land here. That is not what we wanted. Really not sure there's anything in my deck that can get me out of this, bar land plus Settled Wreckage, which we did not find. Is there anything we can do here? No, I think, unfortunately for us, this game is over with. So there you go. That's the last one in this series. Ended up 5-3. Go ahead and concede. Nothing we can do to stop the opponent there. We needed to find Settle plus the land on the previous draw, not on the Thirst for Meaning. We just didn't have the mana remaining after. So there we are. Let's see what we get. We obviously got the 4,000 gold, getting back into another draft, and then a couple of rares from Dominaria. There you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed that one. That's the second Arena Cube on the channel. There will be more. As you can see, I'll probably jump back into another one in the next few days. But anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like the content, then you know, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe. It really does help. Obviously, the channel's really new. But yeah, I'll see you next time.